Janette, Hoston, Harris, from Monroe, Louisiana. Went to Southern 1956 to 60. I was active at Southern in the Methodist Youth Group. I was the first commander of the girls' drill team. And in 1960, March 28th, a group of us were very excited about the fact that North Carolina A&T had sat in North Carolina against racism and discrimination at the lunch counter. And we thought it'd be something great if we could do something to support them. So a few of us leaders came together under Marvin Robinson's leadership, who was the president of the senior class, and we decided to sit down and talk about some way. We came up with a whole series of things we could do. But we asked Marvin to suggest one of the things, keep it quiet, and let us know when it's time to do whatever it is, because we were all in for whatever we could do to test discrimination and speak about what was happening in Louisiana. And so one day Marvin decided we would sit in at S.H. Crest. He did not tell us. He just told us to come to the law school at a certain time, and we all gathered there. Major Johns was a student who was good with strategic planning. And so Major Johns was there, who helped us plan what we were to do. We were all given a few dollars to go shop at S.H. Crest. We got in cars and left campus and went to S.H. Crest. We all shopped. We bought something. I bought cosmetics. Somebody bought socks. Somebody bought something else. After we purchased our goods, we sat at the lunch counter to order. I ordered a cup of tea. Somebody else ordered coffee. And they said, we cannot serve you here. You have to go in the corner where there's a screen, curtain, and a table, and stand up there and eat whatever or drink whatever you purchase. And we said no. We were customers, and we were not moving off of the counters. Everybody got fidgety. The man next to me, I didn't know till years later he was a manager. Everybody got fidgety, and somebody came out from behind and said, you cannot eat here. If you don't move, we're going to call the police. And we decided that we would not leave. And the police came, the paddy wagon came, and they said, you have to leave this premise. These people think that they said that you cannot sit at this counter. It is against the law. You have to be served in the corner. I said, we will not be served in the corner. We shall not be moved. And so they grabbed us by our arms. They had billy clubs on their hips and brought us outside and put us in a paddy wagon. It was 6 of us. It was John Johnson, Kenneth Johnson, both law school students, Felton Baldry, who was a student, Joanne Morris, who was a freshman, and Marvin Robinson, and Donald Moss, and myself. We were all thrown in the paddy wagon and taken to jail, fingerprinted, put in jail. And Felton Clark was a friend of my father's. And my brother drove for Felton Clark. And Felton Clark called and said that I was to come out, that he was going to get me out. And I said, no, you can't get me out unless everybody comes out. So I refused to come out. And we stayed there till the wee hours of the evening. And the NAACP under Thurgood Marshall's leadership, post bail and Reverend Jemison, and got us out. And so we came to campus, and that was this big rally on campus. All the students were out on campus. We rallied, we spoke to the students and everything. Then we went back to our dormitories late that night, and Mildred Higgins, who was my mother's friend, and Rodney Higgins, who was a political science professor, she worked the switchboard. She called me and said, Felton Clark had ordered the security to take us late that night and put us on the train. They had purchased train tickets to take us off campus so we wouldn't incite the other students. And she said, I'm sending my son in the station wagon. I want you to get everything you can get and come in the car and get down on the floor. Don't let anybody see you and Joanne, and come to my house. And that's what we did. So we only moved around at night. Thurgood Marshall, Attorney Jimmy Jones, who was Johnny Jones, who was he's a Southern grad. And he and Thurgood Marshall worked out a plan how we would be able to appeal to the Supreme Court. We went to the Louisiana Supreme Court, went to all the courts, sat down and went through all of that for months. And we would, Governor Earl K. Long said they cannot go to any school that are supported by state funds. So we could not go to any school in Louisiana. And so we didn't know what to do. Many colleges would not accept us. They were afraid. They said we were communists. They were afraid. Charles Wesley, president of Central, great Alpha man, historian, president of Central State University in Ohio, accepted all of us, gave us scholarships, and a Jewish couple out of New York, the Rothberg Foundation, read about us in the New York Times and sent one of their directors down, Carl Sahlberg, who came down and offered all of us scholarships to go to whatever school we wanted to go to. And that's how we ended up leaving Southern, going to those schools. And they brought us back for, no, I'm sorry. The governor of Louisiana demanded that we come back for trial. And he called the governor of Ohio to send us back to Louisiana for trial. And the governor of Ohio said, you have no jurisdiction in Ohio. They will not leave here and go back to Southern University because they feared for our lives. So we stayed in Ohio and finished our degrees. And after that, I could not go back home because my mother feared that something would happen. And so my only cousin who had left the South was in Washington, D.C. So I came to Washington, D.C., and I've been there ever since. This is another little interesting point. I had gotten a degree from Central State, went to the federal government to find a job, went every day, couldn't find a job. One day they said, I need 15 persons with a psychology degree to work at the Peace Corps. And I ran down to the Peace Corps at like 9:15 in the morning, and the man said there were no jobs. They were all filled. And I said, because during those years, on the federal government application, they ask you, have you ever been in jail? So you have to explain that jail. And I did. But he ignored that. And so I could not find a job. And so I came home really disenchanted, called John F. Kennedy. And I called his office and told him what had happened to me, and that I was really disenchanted, that I couldn't get the job. There were jobs available, and they denied me because of my civil rights. They called me back and said John F. Kennedy was out of the country. But the next day, Robert Kennedy called and asked me to come down to his office, and he was Attorney General. And I talked with he and his staff, and they sent me back to the Peace Corps with their card, their business card, and said the man did not give me a job to call them on the spot. So that's how I became employed in Washington, my first job at the Peace Corps.
What a wonderful story.